M80 and Cloud9 Beast Coast. If you're wondering why we said 3 team names there, well, we technically didn't. The reigning major champions just brought in the cavalry. M80 also got a new cut, so this whole matchup is coming back from the barber, determined to prove who is fresher. I'm Jacob, he's Laxing, he's Fox8. Gentlemen, this is quite the match for Cloud9 Beast Coast to start their Manchester title defense on, huh?
Yeah, I mean, I said it. Well, we've all said it. This is probably the game of the day without a doubt. And for me, this is the team. I need them to stay on top here. I mean, M80, you had them at first. I have these guys as first. So, I mean, this is really a battle of me and Fox here if we're right about whose team is going to be at the top.
Yeah.
First, yeah, I think both teams have their own set of challenges. C9BC obviously staying on the top, and M80 has yet to get there, yet their expectations every season is always so high. But I think this time around it's definitely changed.
I love the way that your power rankings shook out. This is both of your #1 on the power rankings too at the same time. And wait a second, if I cast my mind back to the days of 2018, 2019, you both played for a little team called Beast Coast that later transformed into a team called Cloud9, and now they're working together, playing a game, and you're on the couch for
Yeah.
it.
That's true. That was so long ago. That's crazy to think about. Yeah, that was DreamHack when we first played with them too. DreamHack Austin. And then what? Did we? No, under Cloud9 we went to DreamHack
went to C9.
But anyways.
We won DreamHack Montreal with C9.
Yeah.
And if anything, if it wasn't for us, we were their first, Beast Coast sold us to C9.
The first introduction.
That was the business relationship built right there.
To be fair, you got to thank Goddess for a lot of that that business move as well. So can't exclude the Goddess from that.
Goddess the legend, Goddess the goddess. We'll leave it at that. I'm not going to make too many puns out of something like that. We'll start things off with C9BC specifically. We got to get the reigning major champions their flowers. They just called winning Manchester a miracle, but they're also just as determined to prove that it wasn't, that it can happen again, and that they can carry the NA torch.
Yeah, and I wouldn't say it's a miracle at all. I mean, you look at all 5 of these guys, and Diffuser being the rookie there. I mean, you want to know how this team went 0 to hero so fast? It was because they changed that ideology. That was the biggest thing that put this roster into the winning position of being the best team in North America and then going internationally and winning it all, is because all 5 of these players, all 4 I should say, came from separate rosters that had their own ideologies, their own thought process, and that together was not working. Then it all came down to one thing, was giving that role of the ideology straight into Matt, hot and cold, and that's when everything changed. Both him and Fett came into that role of changing this roster, and then we immediately saw that resurgence and immediately saw them top the charts.
They lost those first couple of games of stage 1 and then had a huge bounce back. That was crazy because we were really concerned about how they were starting stage 1 to begin with.
Yeah, and again, and this is what I was talking about, that ideology change. You see those first 3 maps, sure, the wild card one was close, but nonetheless, I mean, once that changed and once Matt had full reign and Fett both understood of how they wanted to approach Siege and how they wanted to approach the rest of NAL to get to Manchester, this is exactly how they did it, and they put all that faith in a hot and cold, and it ended up working tremendously and beautifully for them to secure that Manchester spot.
And everybody on the team was criticized so heavily after that first 3 games, and now they've won a major. So obviously, the mentality shift when you are a team that goes from 0 to hero winning a major, you come back and you want to be able to see humbleness from the team, because that can really take and destroy a team making it to the top.
And this is the entire team stats right here that you see just all put together that they had in Manchester, what made them so successful, what got them that win over BDS to win the championship. I mean, when you look at the percentages, the defensive win rate of a 63%, that's already really good. And then especially in a meta that we find ourselves, that you have to be winning at least some of your attacks to then secure good defensive rounds. I mean, they're sitting at 53%. I mean, this is the team that did it all, did everything that was unthinkable. Obviously, Jesse was the only one that thought this was possible, but still, they did the unthinkable and did it in NA and then brought it to Manchester and did it for NA, closing it out.
Well, we grabbed both the main character and the rookie of last stage in stage 1 to talk about exactly how this team won Manchester. It's Gunner and Diffuser.
Hi, I'm Gunner from Cloud9 Beast Coast, and we are your most recent major champions. Winning the major felt, I mean, I can't really describe that feeling.
It was hard to really fathom the feeling, because I feel like I've just been imagining it my whole life.
That's what every player that plays this game like wants to feel, it wants to achieve, and like we did it. I mean, it was just like pure joy, I guess.
You don't expect to come out on top, especially as your first event with the team. I'm sure none of those guys expected to come home as victors. I think I had hopes for it. Maybe that's not healthy to just expect you're going to be the winner every time, but I think it is. I think I'm expecting to win everything I play.
We've had talks like, you know, don't think about the major like win. Like, yes, like it's great that we won, but like the more you think about the major win, the more pressure you put on yourself. When you have expectations on yourself, that's when you play the worst.
We obviously know we have high expectations from everybody else, but our only expectations are just to win the games we're supposed to and just improve.
But we're confident, honestly. It's kind of a little bit of a new system since we have a new coach and new ideas flowing through. But I really feel like we're on track to being even better than we were at the major.
Our goals are just to improve as individuals, as a team, and just keep focusing on our path. If we all just join this team and won together, nobody else has that right now. I think we have 5 players who can all take over the entire game. One individual on our team will step up if it's needed, and it happens consistently. It's not luck, and we're going to prove it.
I'd say the contenders for NA would probably be DZ. Has just always been solid, and they picked up a good rookie that they can mold, kind of like what that we did with Diffuser. If we put in the time and effort and we do everything we can, when we lose out and we don't make the major, like, I can't be mad because all 5 of us are not leaving anything out to dry. That's all I expect from our team.
It's an interesting mentality for them to come into the stage thinking, hey, we're the major champions, while also thinking nothing about that major championship. They don't want the additional distraction. They don't want anything on their shoulders about how that stage went. They just want to come into the stage and continue to prove that they are the best. It's just unfortunate that the team that they have to do it against for their very first game happens to be the team that Foxay think is currently the top and has the ability to really go far. This is M80 and the return of Hyper.
Yeah, I'll explain exactly why I think they deserve to be the first power ranked team currently. Just all roads currently lead to M80. Not only do they have a fresh new logo, but everything has been pointing towards all the players of M80. Cameraman has been slowly getting better and better with his English and his comfortability in America. Kino had arguably the best stage of his career last stage, and I can only see him getting better since his benching to return. He's only gotten better, and Hyper is just one of those players that we commend so much because he is a Swiss Army knife of players. And the other 2 players from Europe, Spoit and Citizen, obviously bring their own bag full of kills because they are always topping the charts and you just can't stop them.
Yeah, I mean, it's a strong firing squad here on this team. I mean, they have what it takes to definitely put up those numbers, and especially bringing on a player like Hyper that we've known he's been top of the charts back on DZ. I mean, it's no doubt in my mind that seeing Hyper here, it's a no-brainer.
Yeah, I mean, the first time that we ever saw him play was with Dark Zero in 2019, and he's been playing for time and time again previously, but Dark Zero was where you would know him from. He is a major winner. So for him to be able to come back and find his passion, mind you, he found his passion playing the EWC qualifiers in Element 3 with me. So I don't want to say that I
want to say, how much credit can you take for this?
No, I don't think. I think we just gave him a little taste, but I think it was always something that Hyper really wanted to do coming back in. He still had the talent, and he just has so much experience. That's just something you can't teach. It's not something that the newer gen players can have because he has been playing since the start. Since before he was 18, he played since the game came out. And that's just something that you can't teach. The fundamentals that he has is something that is able to carry his success from team to team anywhere he goes.
M80 went to a bunch of different continents last stage to pull together a team that could finally make a major main stage, and now they've pulled in somebody who has gone to major and has won majors in the past, but there's still a lot of ground to make up based on how they've done over the past couple of years.
And here's the key element that I think why Stage 2 is M80's best playing ground. Mind you, besides the fact that all of the players are really coming into their own, it's that the expectations for them are lower than I've ever imagined because they consistently do well domestically, but then when they go to these events, you see it right here, they just get eliminated, grouped. And obviously in Manchester, we saw them do really well. We saw some life, and then to just come back and lose lacklusterly to LG, I would say, even though LG played great, I think that just wiped any type of hopes that you could have for M80. So I think on their shoulders, there's not much pressure.
Sure.
But all of the players are so talented together, which is why they really have nothing in their way, no excuses this stage.
I think that's what worries me, though, is that you say that they come in here with not a lot of expectations because we've put so much and held M80 to such high standards because of their super rosters, because of the teams that they've had and put together, and they've always performed so terribly internationally. And yes, they did find success just most recently at Manchester, but will Hyper be that figure that is going to push them even past top 8 to maybe a top 4, maybe a grand final? Because we have not seen that from M80, and for a long time, that's where we wanted to see them.
Yeah, and I agree. The hype is warranted, and the disappointment afterwards is warranted. But I really do think that Hyper is the glue that they needed to just make everything feel a little bit more comfortable. And I really think that this is no excuses this stage. I really believe that all roads lead to M80 currently.
Still no Lara being played. It'll be a while before we see someone brave enough to take that battleground. And instead, it's Clubhouse for the second consecutive match. Are we doing the same thing as we did in map 1? Are we just playing to default because there's some things to figure out?
I'm telling you right now, I'm saying it right now, Clubhouse is going to take over Oregon. This is going to be
the new
This is
Oregon.
going to be the Coliseum map. This is where you're going to bring someone that you just truly believe on a fundamental level and understanding the game that you are just simply better than the other team.
Just when you think Oregon is dead, it comes back as a map that's been in the pool literally since the game's inception.
Club's about to be gone next.
I will say that Clubhouse is the map that is just very fundamentally sound. Everything works, you can do anything, and not one side is better than the other. Like we talked about in the previous matchup, you don't win it by your defenses, you win it by your attacks. It doesn't matter how good you are on defense. If you are just a monstrous attacking team, you will be able to find that success.
And this is the one time you guys are split on the desk for the day.
I mean, I have to give Cloud9 Beast Coast the benefit of the doubt. They were looking the best regionally. They were looking the best internationally. That alone, I have to give them the credit. They haven't made any changes. M80 has made changes, and even then, when they went to an international pool, they still couldn't even top what C9 Beast Coast could.
Yeah, and that's absolutely fair, but I do believe that winning a major brings its own bags of obstacles that you need to overcome. When you get
bags
to the top,
of obstacles. You just throw bags of obstacles at your opponents.
When you get to the top, it's
There's
not,
a ton of Legos.
It's not as hard getting to the top as it is staying at the top. It is very difficult.
I agree with that. I agree.
It has its own things, its own quirks. And I think that's a new challenge for everybody on C9 BC that they have to go through. M80 hasn't even made it there, so maybe this is their golden ticket.
All right, M80 are trying to see if that Hyper move is going to work in their favor. Cloud9 Beast Coast are finally starting their Manchester title defense, but before we jump into the game, I just want to remind you, this matchup on the North American League is brought to you by the all-new 2020 forecasting duo of Parker Mackay and Jesse Chick.
I actually thought there was some new sponsored bit I was made aware of, but you know, just a nice folksy throw from our good friend Jacob. And yeah, I mean, we're gonna go right back where we started. We got Clubhouse in map number 1, and we're gonna get Clubhouse in map number 2, the defending major champions, up against a team that many probably thought on paper would be the next team from North America to win a major, and that's M80. And well, that team has not really had the level of success that they wanted. C9 BC, formerly known just as Beast Coast, but now with this partnered branding that they announced a couple months ago, really do have the sky's the limit. The one question that I'm going to look to have an answer, Jesse, and I don't know if you feel the same way, was every step along the way towards the end of the major was, well, you know, at some point this Cinderella story has to end, right? Do you think today's the day, or do you think that C9 Beast Coast will roll on?
That is the question of the day, because we've had a lot of teams like Beast Coast who have made miraculous underdog runs at majors and big events. I'm thinking of Team 1 back in Mexico. I'm thinking of Navi and Tokoname. Even to an extent, we saw Rogue do this in Berlin. And all of those teams kind of struggled afterwards. Rogue had a solid SI performance afterwards, but a lot of the times when you see these big underdog runs, you see a very sharp fall off immediately afterwards. I don't know if Beast Coast are going to be the same story, though. I truly think the talent that is on this team and the experience that's on this team. And you got guys like Hot and Cold who've been playing since year 1 on this roster. I don't think that this is a team that's going to immediately fall off and struggle to make majors and really fall to pieces like we've seen some of these other teams do internationally. Do I think they're going to go out and win the Montreal major? Well, that's maybe a bit of a stretch, but it's in the cards still. I don't think they're going to fall off that hard. I expect to see them at the next major. I expect to see them competing in the top 8, fighting for that grand final spot where maybe they'll even rematch up against BDS for the second time. But that really is what we're going to have to find out from Beast Coast today. I don't think the fall off is going to be that crazy. And then for M80, it feels like it's been nothing but fall-offs. Anytime they've gone to an international tournament, the desk talked about this a ton, it has felt like they have underperformed. Maybe with the most recent Manchester major being an exception, but even I think their quarterfinal game against Dark Zero, they didn't play to their highest potential. So we're always looking to see more out of M80. These are some incredibly talented players. And so a test for them as well up against the reigning major champions should be a fun watch.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree with everything you said. There's Spoit on your screen, by the way. He'll be going up against Jinxie in a much more important match later tonight in the Jinxie 1v1. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, this
He
is
will
the
be
warm-up.
playing against Jinxie, but certainly not more important.
Yeah, the warm-up coming up now. You'll test his stuff against Gunner and the major champions. But then tonight, the 1v1 against Jinxie, that's of course what we want.
Unfortunately, we're having some tech issues, so we've got to get to a break just to cool off for a little bit. We'll be back when everything is all in working order. See you soon. Minor setback for a major comeback. Not just for C9 Beast Coast, but for both of these teams, as we are now back in the lobby and all set, ready to go as the newly, well, quote unquote, newly rebranded C9 Beast Coast team. We battle against M80, and that is an incredibly close social prediction, given the way that these two teams wrapped up stage 2 and the major. I don't know if I agree with that 55 to 45. A bit too close.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. M80 certainly have a lot of hype with Hyper coming onto the roster. A lot of people are riding that train. And M80 are a great team as well. As we come into Clubhouse now, the last time that both of these two teams played Clubhouse was against each other in the North American League Grand Finals for Stage 1. Our bands Monty Blitz, the Double Shield, and then Azami and Tubarao coming out here. M80's bans, I think, extremely predictable. These are the exact same operators that they banned when they played up against Beast Coast in the NA Grand Finals. Cloud9 Beast Coast have changed this up a little bit. Their previous bans were Dokkaebi Fenrir. Now they're going to be moving to Blitz Azami. Maybe saw Canadian play crazy on the Blitz and said, you know what, we don't want any of that.
I do think it's really nice that M80 banned Monty themselves to prevent Kino from getting on that operator, because as you know, he's not exactly the best Monty. It looks like we might have another loading issue. Not really sure, but we'll update you as it comes to pass. There were problems with Gunner connecting. I hear that was the culprit.
Yeah,
so
I believe he also just disconnected again. So still having the same issues, it seems like. But hey, we'll work on getting it fixed, of course, ASAP, and then get into this game when we can. I will take our free moment to talk about whatever we please to defend Kino on the Monty allegations. Because, and I say this a lot on my stream, I think Kino gets a bad rap. I think he had one really bad tournament on Monty, which was the Atlanta Major, of course. I think since then, he has been a pretty solid Monty player. Obviously, maybe today, I maybe don't want to see him on the operator, but I actually think he has redeemed himself to some extent on the operator, but I digress. Either way, I do think that we're going to be set for a fun game, and if we can get all 10 players in the server, this is, as Adesk was saying, should be the greatest game of the day.
Really? That's quite the proclamation to make. I mean, our next match is against LG versus Luminosity.
LG versus Los, yes.
Sorry, LG versus Los. Yeah, I was going to say Luminosity versus Los. And then it's Space Station versus OXG to wrap up the day. See, it was just a small... It was just I just a little,
Yeah, I see.
Every now and then you trip up.
It happens.
Sorry, I'm so juiced up right now from the Linkin Park reunion that is currently going on at this very moment. I'm just, I can't. Sorry?
You're a big Linkin Park fan, Parker.
Not really at all. I was mostly joking, but I was trying to be relevant.
I used to listen to a lot of Linkin Park back in like high school, back in like middle school, high school. I was a fan.
I just remember the drive to school every day. We would put on, like, I can't remember what radio station it was. It was one of the alternative rock stations in Toronto, and In the End by Linkin Park would play at like the exact same time every morning for a straight year, and that was it. So I got that burned into my brain. What do you think of the new look of M80, by the way? Not just in terms of their roster, because obviously they picked up Hyper, but the new look of their jerseys and the color. They have gone from more of a green to more of this neon highlighter-esque yellowish green color and a new logo that...
Yeah.
It kind of looks like a film reel to me. I don't know what it is.
The desk was saying it looks like a Fenrir dread mine, and I kind of like that description of their logo. It does look like it could open up and then poison blind you with toxic gas. I really like the colors. I think their jerseys look super sick. The black paired with the kind of green neon thing they got going on is really nice. I liked their old logo a lot though too. The little bomb guy. I thought it said M80 underneath that. I thought that was, I liked their old logo quite a bit. But nothing else I like the cover. I also think their new name looks like NN80, which is a little bit strange.
Okay. Okay, I can see that. So here's I just discovered this. I don't know if you have Google. I just used Google.
I don't.
Oh,
I don't.
You should. Okay, you should try to get it. It's very helpful. I just Googled what is an M80, and it looks like a little, almost like a little cherry bomb, like little like firecracker kind of deal. And then I Googled M80 esports, and their logo looked like a little cherry. Admittedly, the logo is like kind of a pinkish red. Their logo was this, a greenish color, but the M was the logo. It was very clever. Now I'm not really sure what the logo is. Maybe I can send Marco a message and ask, but I'm not entirely sure. Maybe it is Dreadmile from Fenrir. Maybe that's what it is.
Be a fun little tie-in. I don't know how M80's other esports teams would feel about it, but I certainly like it for Rainbow Six if that is the intention.
There's no other esport but Rainbow Six Siege. Okay, I have no idea what you're talking about.
That's true. I've heard that, and I would not have watched any other esport, even this morning.
You should Google it.
Can I Bing it?
I'll allow it.
Nice little map play to open up the jacuzzi wall very early into this round. That's a good way to counter that Bandit. We didn't see any of that last map because Maverick was banned. This time Blitz is banned, so they can use that Maverick instead to open up the wall. They don't got to worry about the Bandit tricks with the castle barricades. It's a nice little counter play that unfortunately couldn't get punished by M80. A lot of Bandits have actually been having good success against Mavericks because of the new, not so new anymore, but the C4 preview lines have been very, very deadly to Maverick players as of recent months. But Gunnar gets it done, and he only takes 3 points of damage.
It's almost a mortal blow. Very lucky, actually, to be hanging in there still. Yeah, I mean, different lineups being brought right now by M80 than what we saw in the previous matchup when, we were on Clubhouse and we were looking at yet another defense upstairs of this bedroom and bathroom situation. Gunnar with the first kill, Gavin also on the board. Gridlock showing her face. You've also got a Legion on the board to potentially slow them down. Capkin was the favorite operator that we saw previously. Gavin's just going to walk in and annihilate everybody. The super shorty sure does pack a punch. He's hoping for a quick jiggle in construction. That's Spoit who's isolated. Gavin will try as he might. Spoit's in a tough spot. Full HP though, but he's being targeted by Damos. A swing out, sidearm in place. Hold on a second. Spoit with 2 very good kills. It's not enough though, because Cloud9 Beast Coast had such a lead through the midway point of this round, and they used that to their advantage, finding the final kill and giving the defending major champions their first round and a first victory on that round.
Listen, Spoit's considered one of the best players in the North American League for a very good reason, and we almost saw him clutch up there in the 1v4, taken down by Diffuser. And it's important to note that Spoit and Diffuser were the 2 best players by kill-death ratio in Stage 1. Spoit went plus 45, Diffuser went plus 30. It's always a treat to see them going head-to-head against one another. They're also only 2 of 3 people in all of Rainbow Six history to win a major in their very first rookie stage. Parker, I'll give you a fun fact guessing game. Do you know who the 3rd person is?
Sorry, say that again.
Only 3 people in the world have ever won a major in their rookie stage. It's Diffuser, it's Spoit, and it's...
In their a major?
Won a major in their rookie stage.
In their rookie stage.
10 seconds left, sir.
I guess major sticks here, right? Because Dan technically won one, but it was a Pro League final.
Exactly, yep.
So it couldn't have been him.
Attackers are heading out
I
to
don't
defuse
think
the bomb.
any of W7M were rookies. I don't think anybody in FaZe were rookies back in the Yavla days. Was it... It wasn't Benja on G2 winning SI, was it?
No, I wouldn't count that. He also played a stage before on Heroic.
Fair. Who was it?
It was Lickithack, of course, the runner-up to our most recent major, and arguably the best player in the world right now on BDS when they won their Sweden major.
I always associate rookies with, like, they're younger, right? Like when they just started. Lickithack looks like he started playing pro play as just a full adult.
He's huge.
He is a very large man and very nice. So I would never think of him as a rookie.
No, I remember interviewing him in Manchester. He says he wakes up every morning and does 50 push-ups. Crazy.
Do you think you could even do 50 push-ups, period?
I know I couldn't. I tried on stream once.
That is terrible. Just like Spoit dying so early, also terrible. Can't rely on him to potentially bandit trick any of the downstairs walls because, well, or rather, sorry, it was this new UI. This new UI. He was spectating cameraman and it looked like his logo was the bandit wire. He's Legion. He's not going to be bandit tricking. It's going to take a while.
No, and this is, I mean, it's not easy from Cloud9 Beast Coast. Yes, they got the opening pick, but you can see a lot of map control is still being held by M80. 90 seconds into the round, they have not been able to clear Rafters or Cash or anything. Canadian on Blitz would have never let this happen.
Oh my. Plenty of tools at the disposal, by the way, of these attackers. The Ying will be a main focal point. The Spirits has all 4 Candelas still in back pocket. Diffuser tries the swing. Citizen doing what Citizen does, and he gets Gavin as well on the fadeaway. Cameraman is prone upstairs. They might think they've got Rafters control, but C9 BC will be in some serious struggles if they're not able to drone this out. As cameraman inches away from his monitor and also inches away from Spirits, who knows exactly where he is, but a tough angle to have as cameraman pops up. Spirits shuts him down.
Trying to smell Spirits through the screen, unfortunately, didn't work as well as he would have liked it.
That was me smelling. I don't know if you...
No, I connected those dots, actually, yeah.
Thank you, okay.
And with 35 seconds, they've got to make an execute going smoothly from, it looks like blue, maybe main stairs, although hot and cold, moving around. It looks like everybody might be going blue. They are scrambling to get together with mid-push with very little time on the clock.
And out go the Candelas to potentially buy time as they charge their way down this blue corridor. Another Candela will go. An operator uniquely situated to deal with it. It's Hyper's Warden. Citizen with his 3rd kill. It's Kino to take out Houghton. And now the last one of Gunner is to die. M80 rebuffing C9 BC's advances. And really, it was the Citizen show inside a garage that made it all happen.
And last stage, I think Spoit took a lot of the attention on M80 as their best player, as their highest performer. And that was true, I think, both statistically and from the eye test. But Citizen towards the end of the stage 1 was looking really good. And I think he was their best player throughout the playoffs, of course, when M80 even went against Beast Coast back toward the tail end of stage 1. So good to see Citizen returning to the form that we know he is so capable of playing at. He has been one of the best players to be imported in from the EU to join the North American League, and I think it's really, really nice to see him stepping up and having such impactful moments, especially against what some people would call the current best team in the world.
I think that's a very fair way to label C9 BC because, I mean, they are the defending major champions. I think...
There's an argument to be made.
I think so. I mean, no shade to the tournaments that happen off season, but I know that some teams don't take them as seriously, even if the prize pool is laughably large. When it comes to this kind of thing, the official sanctioned events are the events that these players tend to take most seriously, and we as casters also take the most seriously because they, of course, feed into that same ecosystem, and they are important for getting you to SI, which is the crown jewel of this esport. So having won the Manchester Major and then having a lengthy offseason for a lot of these teams in North America, you will see some changes to potentially roles. You'll see changes to the meta. And obviously because the new operator comes in I think a week, 2 weeks, something like that. I can't remember. Coming up. Not sure. Soon. Yeah, I'm not sure when, but I think it's like a week or 2, maybe 3 weeks.
I think it's next.
It could be. But either way, there will be changes. We already saw them in the previous matchup, just as we are seeing them now. M80 obviously having a new look, bringing in Hyper, and he's had a very quiet day so far.
Yeah, I mean, 2 rounds in, we'll let him get warm a little bit, only 1-1, but I know a lot of eyes are going to be on him for the rest of this game and for the rest of the stage. For this round, it looks like Cloud9 Beast Coast are not going to bother with Rafters, and they're instead going to decide to push in through construction. A safe thing to do when you know that the Rafters is going to be controlled by some really powerful operators. You've got a mirror window up there, which is a really interesting setup that Spoit has done for the bomb site. It'll be Hyper himself playing inside of Rafters, but they've gotten the breach open, which they... Did the breach open actually yet? I'm not sure if they do. They might have Selma'd it. on Gunner, but they've not used any of their exothermic charges. No, they used the Selma on the con single, so that should mean that the primary breach is still closed. They have time to work for it. You know, it's not the end of the world here, but these are the dimensions you're going to see for this execute. It's likely going to be the main breach when they can manage to get that open, and then the brunt of this push will be coming through construction.
Cameraman immediately answers that exothermic charge going off with the nitro cell tossed from his hand. Spoit's got one lined up now as well, and it's shot by Diffuser, who also takes Spoit down in the process too for the price of one. Not exactly the best gamble for M80. Cameraman also taking a substantial amount of damage means M80 is not in great shape to ride out these final 50 seconds, Jesse.
Oh, and a bandit trick coming in huge. This could be big, and it will. That's Cameraman using his utility to stop the main breach from being open. And look at this. They don't really have any more EMPs. They're not going to get that wall open, which means this push will be extremely linear just through construction.
Things have suddenly gone from very bad for M80 to at least somewhat salvageable. Yeah, you know, you lose in numbers, and now there goes Kino as well, but C9 Beast Coast have a great guns, and Diffuser's killing them all. It's all up to Citizen. An ace is possible. It can be had. Citizen inside of Garage firing away. He's got some marks. Out comes the sidearm, and it's an ace from Diffuser. Every single player knocked down by one major champion.
Let them know.
It looked all but lost after the bandit trick. It looked so tough for C9 Beast Coast, and they still rolled right over M80.
Diffuser, a massive round for him to come on in. We already talked about him being such an incredible player, again, plus 30 in stage one. I think at the Manchester Major, he was not as high of a performer statistically, but he was still very good for Beast Coast. You don't win a major without all 5 players showing up at some way, shape, or form, and he certainly was playing fantastically for Beast Coast when they won that major. Nice to see him continuing to improve. You know, he's one of those players that a lot of people doubted when he first came onto the North American League. He was a last-second pickup for Beast Coast in stage one. They thought they'd be playing with a different 5th player. They had to scramble with only a few days before roster lock. They picked up Diffuser. A lot of people doubted, and he has quickly proven those doubters to be incredibly wrong. He popped off in stage one. Now he's doing it again on the very first play day of stage two. I love to see it. I love it when a player can come in and beat all of the doubters and just prove everybody wrong about how good they really are.
What map was it in the major finals where Diffuser was, what was it, 9-1, 10-1, some crazy number like
yes.
that?
Wasn't it the first map, I want to say? I'll check for you, but give me a minute.
I mean, it is just unbelievable to think that somebody could step into that important of a match with such little experience as Diffuser had and still stack up against the best of them. And now it is a 7-1 through these 3 rounds for the young player on the side of C9 Beast Coast. He is... Go ahead.
I was just going to jump in and say it was map 1 Skyscraper, 15-5 against BDS.
Yeah, I think he started 9-1 or some very impressive number along those lines. So C9 Beast Coast struggling with the utility play on the previous round, but absolutely excelling in the gunplay. Mind you, they only needed one person to do the job because, well, nobody else was able to get a kill other than Diffuser. And now drones are lined up. This could be a quick entry down through Dirt Tunnel as Gavin uses the super shorty that comes equipped on the hands of Gridlock to find a way in. Gridlock's got really an excellent kit when it comes to weaponry, but a lot of players look down on those track stingers and think that there's better value from other operators. But you can't deny that if you have a use for those track stingers, Gridlock is an excellent option with the nades, the F90, and that super shorty.
Undoubtedly, it's an operator that we're seeing more and more people kind of pick up when it makes sense to do so, and I do think that for Cloud9 Beast Coast, it's going to have an impact here, just to watch those flanks as they try to take more of the map control than maybe they had last time. It's again a repeat of round 1. They're trying to play the Maverick once again, but you can see there's been a bit more problems in opening this wall. The mirror window makes it really awkward to Mav open this wall. They use the can opener to give themselves a better angle, but you're not getting through on the can opener placed that high up. So they still, if they want to enter through Jacuzzi, have work to do on this wall. I just don't know if they're going to be able to get it done safely if Gunner's willing to risk that now that he's playing on the Maverick. They may just settle for leaving it as an angle and then having the execute coming through maybe the master windows, maybe logistics, maybe from the main stairs as Gavin may be coming up. It's really just waiting on time to tell.
Exact same lineup, by the way, from Cloud9 Beast Coast in this round, but several things swapped up by M80, bringing the Fenrir for the first time in this match, and we'll see if those F-mines can actually do some obscuring. I don't really see a lot of Fenrir, to be honest, because A, he was banned so frequently, and then B, after he got those nerfs, I think a lot of people thought he didn't really have his place.
Yeah. No, it's been a bit of a struggle on the pick rate for him, but still does find use. And this push, it's rocking and rolling, Parker.
Gavin takes an awful lot of damage, surviving for a while because of the enormous HP that is brought from those heavier operators like Gridlock. Can't call them 3 armors anymore because we don't go by armor, we go by health. Now Diffuser, pull out the sidearm, Gunner gets the kill. Diffuser is dropped by Citizen. It's actually hot and cold. The player cam's giving us away. It's all up to Gunner and Spirits now. Spoit playing by weight room and an easy lockout for M80 as every single player from C9 Beast Coast who got too close to the site lost their lives at the hands of quite a bevy, actually, of M80's players. Great team effort.
It was, and I remember we were talking about Wildcard, how in the early round on Clubhouse, just an hour or so ago, it felt like Wildcard were maybe not getting picks, but they were at least getting a lot of map control in those first 2 minutes of the round. It didn't feel like Cloud9 Beast Coast were really able to get either of those in the first 2 minutes of that round. Yeah, they had bottom floor control, but they didn't have a lot of great operators to utilize that bottom floor. Bottom floor not the strongest area of the map to hold when you're attacking gym bedroom. They kind of had the jacuzzi wall. They spent a lot of time on it, but it never really got open super cleanly. And then they never even attempted to take control of CCTV cache instruction, that part of the map, until far towards the end when they were maybe in Logi. So yeah, it just didn't feel like their push really had much to go off of on the side of Cloud9 Beast Coast. And I think a lot of that comes down to M80 doing a really good job with the utility, keeping their walls closed, making sure that they didn't give up anything for free. And because of that, now it's a 2-2 game.
5 seconds left.
Fenrir brought out yet again. Look at the lineups for Cloud9 Beast Coast. They have really been enjoying this Grim. This will be the 3rd time in 5 rounds that it emerges, almost as much as M80 likes Bandit. Prior to this round, Bandit had a 100% pick rate, played twice by Cameraman and twice by Citizen. Now it will be a Kaid who was shown on this exact same bomb site in the hands of Kino. But when Mira's open, I guess you got a player, and she was very pivotal in that previous defense, and will get brought again from Cameraman. Cameraman had some difficulties prior to this round getting onto the scoreboard. He managed to get 2 picks for his trouble last time. So you can't just put him on utility and that's it. I guess now that he's alive, he can fire back, and the Vector is a pretty good gun at close range. At all ranges with these players, but especially at close range. So the utility will do wonders for Cameraman, especially given the way that Mira has played on this bomb site, which is quite safe. Likely be nestled downstairs on that church wall.
IQ utility also incredibly important as we're talking about the operators, because you only have impact EMPs. There's no Thatcher, and those impact EMPs are often very difficult to hit the Electro Claw. You kind of have to guess because you don't know where the claw was actually being placed, and the radius is very, very small on those EMPs. So this will be nice from Diffuser. He's going to use this utility to spot the claws for his teammates. Then we can see the impact coming out from Gavin right there. Then the can opener from Spirits to open up the hatches. And so the work here is all going according to plan. Sometimes teams do trip up on this, but it's good to see that a major champion team is not one of them.
One thing I've really been noticing about the C9 Beast Coast entry is how much they've been droning early on. They've had drones in position at the very beginning of a lot of these rounds. It might be something that other teams are doing, but it just isn't being picked up when we go to spectate these players. Obviously, intel is always the name of the game. The team with the most intel tends to do better than the teams that don't have it. 4 drones remain for C9 BC with about a minute to go. They've got a first pick onto Hyper, so that's excellent timing. They'll also get one onto Spoit, so maybe they don't need a ton of intel for the cut and thrust. Cameraman, the very first kill. Down onto Spirits. Citizen dies. It's all up to Kino and Cameraman. Make that just Cameraman. It's been 20 seconds since the first kill came out, and the round is basically over. Cameraman trying to collect these kills, but right now they are impactless, and it's Gunner to seal the deal on that round. things looked okay, and then the floodgates opened, and C9 BC just demolished M80.
Yeah, that's the second round where everything has seemingly been going well for M80. I'm thinking back to the first gym bedroom defense, where the early round goes on. There's not that much happening. The utility plays pretty good from M80. In that round, they actually managed to keep the blue hatch closed the entire time because both impact EMPs, I believe, got used on the stock hatch. They didn't have any more EMPs to open that hatch with. So it felt like utility-wise they were good, and then M80 just bleed a couple of picks. You saw Hyper go down, you saw Spoit die, and all of a sudden, there was a massive man advantage for Cloud9 Beast Coast, and these are the little things that M80 needs to be really careful about. If you're giving up these picks for free before the execute action comes on out, you're putting yourself at a disadvantage where I don't think you otherwise needed to. It's a 5v5, you've got blue hatch closed, you've got strong positioning in sight, there's no reason to be bleeding bodies, but unfortunately, that's what happens. Cloud9 Beast Coast, they scope out those kills and they get them, setting themselves up for a frankly pretty simple execute with a massive man advantage. So absolutely well played to Cloud9 Beast Coast. Their ability to find these picks before they go for their execute has been huge, and it's something I want to see M80 sharpening up a little bit.
A crucial round, and we're in the same position that we were in previously in that wild card Sonics match. So a 3-3 very possible. I will echo Fox A's words from the analyst desk before the first matchup. And boy, oh boy, is this one sentence just getting so much mileage today. You don't win Clubhouse on your defenses. You win them on your attacks. And so far, so good for C9 BC. Wildcard was in a similar position as they looked quite good on their attacks. They couldn't ultimately close it out on that second side, struggling a bit too much on their defenses. M80 right now, the team struggling on their defenses, but M80's got a lot of tools at their disposal when it comes to attack. Hyper is an excellent player pretty much across the board, but one knock against him was that he was maybe a bit too passive for how talented he was on the teams he played. Good news, you've got plenty of aggressive players on the side of M80, so a more passive, maybe flex or support role could suit Hyper quite well on this team. Only time will tell.
Up in the best start, of course, 1-3, but we're early, and that was almost an opportunity for Gunner. He might be able to still find this kill, but it looks like the player that he was shooting at has made the escape. Maybe also suspecting that there could be a Valkyrie camera somewhere up near him. With the IQ around, they should be able to find that without too much of a problem. They see the electric claw. I guess they can't ping it, so he goes for the shots and gets the claw regardless. This is honestly an identical round to what we saw in round number 5. I think M80 have decided, you know what, that round was going really well for us. If we just repeat the same thing, but we don't give up 2 picks right before the execute, we probably win that. And honestly, I think they're probably right. Some small adaptations, maybe with the Valkyrie, but broadly, this is going to be the same push. And this time, they actually do have the blue hatch open as well. So a little bit more util on the side of M80, a little bit more angles open on the side of Cloud9 Beast Coast as well.
Dumped in one Candela just for good measure over towards blue, or over towards rather blue. Now another will go down over towards Moto. Spirits 1 and 4 is a bit unusual for a player who we see often taking over games, but go back to that best of 5 in Manchester, and boy oh boy, C9 BC can really trade the lead. Hyper's Nitro Cell kills Diffuser, good enough for Paul's second kill. Spoit also on the board this round with the kill on the Spirits. All the while this is happening, great value as Hot and Cold gets Diffuser down, but it might be a Pyrrhic victory for this C9 BC team. Gunner will need to clutch up. Not a single kill to be had for C9 BC just yet. Could it be a flawless round? No, Gunner will stop it. There's a runaround from the mute. Gunner with 2 big kills. He'll now have to go for the drop, and he's finished off by Citizen. Up on top of the bomb chassis. 3-3 the first half, Jesse. Neither of these teams able to make much progress.
Oh, winnable 1v5 from Gunner. Honestly, his positioning was perfect. It's never easy to win a 1v5, and ultimately, I think he gets a little bit panicked dropping that kitchen hatch. It happens. We're not going to blame that round on him. I liked the plant. I liked the droning. It felt like the plan was all there, but as the plant was going down, just a fury of kills. Hyper went from opening death in round 5 to the opening kill in round 6, and that seemed to start them off on the right foot. made all the difference for M80. So just like in our first match of the day that was also on Clubhouse, we have a 3-3 split to start things off. And I think it's a good sign for the North American League that we have so many competitive games, even in our very first play day. I think a lot of people knew that this game was going to be a close one. It was going to be competitive, but for both the first two matches of the day, seemingly being neck and neck, I think it's a good indication of the season to come.
Now, I do have a question for you that comes from a long-time listener, first-time caller. His name is Super Seth. He is currently co-streaming this matchup. Obviously, very happy that his team was able to prevail in the very first match of the day. He would like me to ask you this question, Jesse.
Yes.
Is Jesse always in the holiday spirit, or if he is an elf and thus feels inclined to represent Christmas through his wardrobe? So, Jesse, are you always in the holiday spirit, or are you an elf? What is the answer to this question?
Listen, dude, it's kind of cold up in Edmonton, all right? I have a nice sweater. I thought I could wear it for my first debut cast. I thought it looked nice.
I'd like to point out that I don't think anywhere in here are you being told that you don't look nice. I am telling you that you look like an elf. Or at least Super is implying that you look like an elf.
Listen, I get nothing but short jokes every time I go to LAN, and elves are stereotypically the tallest fantasy race. So I'm gonna take that as a compliment. I'm gonna take that as W. Also, famously, a beautiful race. So yeah, maybe I'm just channeling my inner elf here on NAL Playday 1.
You're really not even that short.
I'm a tall 5'7", I like to say.
Okay, I don't think those work together. We're currently in the middle of a tech pause right now. Not exactly sure what the culprit is. It might be player cams being worked on, but if not, then we will update you when we have information. I am such a sucker for circular mirrors. I don't know how you feel, but I love circular mirrors. This is how I know I'm getting old, because I see things in people's houses and I go, hey, I look really nice in my house. And now I know that I am basically 1 foot in the grave. You are much younger than me. I don't know if you've arrived at that stage of your life yet, but that's where I'm at.
Thankfully, I'm not at the point where I'm strongly considering the shape of mirrors. I've maybe when I get to your age, maybe when I hit 40, I will also feel that same energy. But I can't say I have any strong opinions on mirror shapes myself.
I'm gonna use. You still haven't discovered it yet. I'm gonna use Liquipedia. I googled it actually. I don't know. Again, you really need to get on this Google thing. Jesse Chick R6 Liquipedia. Okay, you are 25 years old.
Well
you were
done.
born on April 19th, 1999. That's a lot of ones and nines. 19199. That is.
We're doxing now, hey?
That is ridiculous. This is a public website. I don't think you know what doxing means.
And even if I did, I still would use it poorly.
Look at that. Look at that great suit coat that you were wearing in your Liquipedia picture. That looks like one and only Indochino. I'm just going to say it looks like it was made for you.
Laxing just DM'd me. He said, you are old, but Parker is 65. And I respect that. I think that's a very fair statement that Laxing has been making.
You ever see that one tweet that went around where it's like hearing people talk about like athletes, and it's like, now here it is, the oldest athlete known to mankind stepping onto the pitch, 31 years old, basically dead. How could anybody this age even get up in the morning? And it's like, okay. This goes back to the days where I think it was Hot and Cold tweeted out a while ago, a long time ago, when he turned like 23 or something like that. And he's like, I'm basically retired. They're putting me on hard breach. I'm too old. And it's like, obviously a joke since Hot and Cold has had like this renaissance, but it's like when you get to be that age, it's like time to go grandpa.
Speaking of pro players being 31 years old, we are just a couple weeks out from Cameraman hitting his 31st birthday and being the first player in the league to hit that benchmark. I actually don't know if that's first time ever. Probably. He's kind of old too. So if you are at home in your 30s thinking about how sad you are that you're kind of old at the moment, just know that your days of pro play are statistically, unfortunately, probably past.
So you're telling me that I'm never going to go pro?
Parker, that has nothing to do with your age. You're never going to go pro because of your gameplay abilities. Don't worry.
This is the meanest thing you've ever said to me.
Oh, I'm right there with you. Don't worry. This is why we talk about the game.
Yes. And speaking of the game, we are now back in live action, just a couple seconds into the second half. M80 now on attack, C9 BC on defense. What are your expectations for M80 on these attacks, and how do you think they could possibly differ from what we saw from C9 Beast Coast?
Well, honestly, I'm a little bit worried about M80 moving over to the attack because Beast Coast are typically a much stronger team on the defense of Clubhouse than they are on attack. Through stage 1, Beast Coast had only a 27% attacking win rate on Clubhouse, and on defense, they shot up to 65%. So if M80 struggled against the attacks of Cloud9 Beast Coast, both a team that struggles themselves on this map and also a map that tends to lean somewhat defender-sided, I think moving on to the attack with only a 3-3 split paints a poor picture for them, and they're really going to need to step it up on all areas if they want to contest Cloud9 Beast Coast here.
Again, that Foxay quote. You win this map on your attacks. Great start from C9 BC as they eliminate Hyper. He's not really allowed in the building, and there goes your Thatcher. So all this hard breach that's been brought by M80, and boy, oh boy, do they have a lot of it. The can opener in the hands of Kino. Spoit rocking the Selmas, and the Hibana also on the board. If there's any electrification or mute jammers or anything of that sort, you have to be careful. Good news for them, there's only the mute on the board. Spoit dies as well. Suddenly, with just a little bit under half of the round to go, C9 Beast Coast are in excellent shape.
Yeah, this is exactly what Cloud9 Beast Coast wanted to do with this operator lineup. They still got Gavin going for a flank too, and the boss G in hands. This is gonna be bad.
Oh my goodness. Kino gets put in the dirt. Gavin doesn't want to go for a second with the boss G. Instead, we'll go through the sidearm, a spray through the wall of cameraman. I don't know if he had information or if that was just luck, but either way, he manages to take him down, and Gavin looks a little bit frustrated by that one. M80 reduced to just 2 players. Citizen to go for the drop. 6 kills to his name, leading his team. Trailing 2 players from C9 Beast Coast. Wary of Capkin traps. There goes a grenade to clear any of them away. The lineup now around the bomb chassis. Great shot by Citizen. Small opening into church wall, and he also assesses over towards pulse spot if something can happen. That's some damage that's done to cameraman. This execute dragging on for so long, Jesse.
A desperation execute, I would call it. Trying to find an opening when they just can't. Nothing is being presented to them.
And M80 just waiting. They're not the ones that have the time on their side. Another kill from Citizen, but so far, it does not look like it's going to do much at all. C9 Beast Coast, successful despite Citizen's best efforts. And Citizen racking up some impactless kills, but still falling short on that execute for M80.
I actually think that wasn't that bad for M80 when they lost their first 2 picks, right? They lost Hyper, they lost Spoit. It's a 5v3. That never feels good. But the site utility from Cloud9 Beast Coast was still relatively weak. They only really had maybe some castle barricades, and then of course the Banshees that were the brunt of the utility in sight. And they had Kino, of course, with Candelas on the game. That's a huge execute operator. The problem is, then we saw Kino backing up into the sight line of a boss G he did not know existed. Gavin went undroned inside of Strip and was able to completely turn the round, at least lock down the head. I won't say turn the round on its head because that was a dominant round for Cloud9 Beast Coast for sure. But he locked it down, and we saw Cloud9 Beast Coast from there close out the easy execute. Just not something that you can be having for your M80. You got to find these opening picks. You should have these drones to help you out. It's never easy when there's a vigil on the board, of course, but yeah, if you're losing all of your opening pick gunfights, it is always going to be tough to convert the rounds.
Exactly what you want to see for C9 Beast Coast, though, and well, M80 almost running with an identical lineup, making one swap out to bring in the Thermite in place of the Hibana. So M80 not really showing a lot of operator diversity. The same cannot be said for C9 BC as they run with an almost entirely new lineup, just bringing the castle over from the previous bomb site. And I mean, if you're running with the same defender lineup across all 3 sites on this map that get played, because of course bar stage exists, but it hasn't been seen just yet. If you're running with the same 5 operators on defense, you kind of have to wonder what's up, because there really isn't one specific lineup that is optimal for the defense downstairs that would be upstairs on, say, CCTV cache. So things pretty normal for C9 Beast Coast. The big focus for M80 is bring lots of hard destruction You've got 2 hard breachers in the thermite and the ace, and then again, the can openers being brought by the Ying for the 2nd round in a row.
This is often the story of Clubhouse, right? You got to open the CC wall, you got to open con single, you got to open jacuzzi. There's a lot that you would like to breach. And this wall as well between CC and Cash is very important for ace players usually, but if they have a Deimos down below, they may not need to open it. They might be able to get this pick without even worrying about the wall with the Deimos.
People sleep on that pistol. I know, obviously, that if you play this game, you know how strong that Magnum is that Deimos brings, but I feel like people still don't really respect it because, in most people's eyes, hey, it's just a sidearm, right? And speaking of sidearms, look at C9 BC, 3 secondary shotguns. So maximum soft destruction can be done here, as both the Clash and the Mira, or the Clash and the Castle bring that super shorty. You got the ITA side shotgun for Mira because why bring anything else? So you can rotate if you want to roam away and find either hatches or walls to go through quickly. But right now, C9 Beast Coast just need to sit pretty with just a little under a minute to go.
They have a lot of hard breach, but I don't know if they're going to be going for jacuzzi wall here. They have basically everything else on the map. They have construction. They have a player down below. They have Logi as soon as they open up the hatch. That's open now. So they don't need jacuzzi per se, and there is a bandit trick being attempted by Diffuser. With only 35 seconds, they're probably going to leave it, and this still could be a strong push if they can get past this clash and find an opening pick to start it off.
I wonder if they flicked onto the thermite for that wall in particular, because you would not be able to open up both of those walls if you were Hibana or with Ace. It has to be an exothermic charge to do that. First kill comes from M80. They lose the next one, and then they just decide to go back and forth on the seesaw of engagement. But then the kill feed is all theirs. It's hot and cold to fend against them, and he can't get the job done. M80 answers back. And just like we saw with Sonics versus Wildcard, these teams are unable to shake one another. The only difference is, whereas in our first game of the day, you saw the teams on a couple occasions win consecutive rounds, nobody here has been able to do that. It is C9 Beast Coast to win the odd numbers, and it's M80 to win the even numbers. And it has been that way since the end of round number 1.
With this being round 8, that also mathematically means that this is M80's first attacking round win, of course, failing in round 7. And I really like the way that they were able to use, again, so many different angles. Yeah, they didn't have Jacuzzi open, but I believe it was Cameraman that was on the Master and Gym windows that was able to pick up 2 really important kills, find those trades. One thing that you can do on that Gym Bedroom bomb site is just swarm from 100 different angles and really draw the attention of the defenders. And that's exactly what they did. Yeah, there was a clash that was inside of Logi, and maybe that slowed them down a little bit, but they're not just pushing Logi, they're pushing so many other positions. Again, the Deimos was coming out from down below, window pressure, of course, and that's what you can do when you fully clear that cache extension. So I love the way that M80 pushed that. It was a little bit concerning. They didn't have a single kill until like 25 seconds or something, but they knew what they were doing. They were getting map control when they spent all that time in the early round, and I don't think that at any point were they worried.
Right back into it as we sit on round number 9, which means that C9 BC should win this one just based off of the numbers, but we will wait and see what happens. Again, hard breach being brought in abundance. 2 glorified hard breachers, or 2 dedicated hard breachers. The one glorified hard breacher was the Ying before. Tino's been the one playing this secondary breacher. This time, Capitao instead of the Ying, and this is excellent tricking from Spirits to stop all of that gadgetry on the side of the attackers from opening up Garage. Just constantly throwing down the Electroclaw, waiting for it to activate, pick it up, repeat, and it's already frustrated M80.
Super nice to see that coming out. Perfect Kaid tricking. It's the problem with can openers. They take so long to actually explode that it opens yourself up to getting Kaid tricked. It's a lot harder if you're using, say, maybe a thermite on the same wall. Not that you'd really want to thermite that wall, but even still, it is one of the problems with the utility that they've brought. Now is the big test, though. Garage wall gets tricked. It's tough, but it's not the end of the world. This will be a much bigger deal. Unfortunately, hot and cold. Oh, they pulled it off. They could have opened that wall, but I don't think they wanted to commit to it. And now, yeah, he doesn't able to get it off. They bandit tricked at the nick of time. He just left it on.
Diffuser showing how you can win a round by not even getting a single kill, though you recall this was the site at which Diffuser got an ace just on the other side of the coin. He was attacking Down goes Gavin as Citizen gets the leadoff pick. Out go the fire arrows from Kino. Spirits equalizing by taking Citizen down. Citizen, 10 kills so far. Really impressive tally. Second in the lobby, only trailing Diffuser, who's sitting at 11. Now Hyper looking to shake off some of that rust that must have accumulated from him not having played for so long. Find an easy pick on the Spirits. And the numbers will go back in favor of M80. All that hard work, Jesse, being done to keep them out, and yet it's C9BC trailing in numbers.
Yeah, but they only have Raptors control, and they're going to maybe jump on the CC window. The positioning is still very favorable for Cloud9 Beast Coast. This is still a strong round for them, and look at this rat spot from Diffuser. This could be big.
He sees one tracking onto Kino, 12 kills. Gunner goes down, Hot and Cold follows. It's all up to Diffuser, and he'd already given his position away. The streak is broken. M80 wins 2 in a row. The lead is theirs. They're up 5-4.
It is not every day you see a successful push on CCTV Cache with the main CC breach unable to be opened. Not even a sightline. Every single player was either coming in through con/the CC window, or of course in through garage, which was the bulk of it. Really nice gunfights there. I kind of wish that Cloud9 Beast Coast were able to do a little bit more. Those players on attack were so funneled, right? M80 did not have many options on that execute, and Cloud9 Beast Coast stepped up and took those gunfights pretty early. They were pretty willing to swing and hold those angles. Yes, they were in the man disadvantage, but I still felt like that was a really holdable round. Maybe just didn't really have the utility to play for plant denial or what have you, but regardless, a great push, making the best out of a bad situation on the side of M80. And as you said, 2 in a row, starting to build up a bit of a trend, and that's enough to scare attack timeout out of Cloud9 Beast Coast.
Heck of a time to do it. There's still plenty of runway for them to land this proverbial plane, but they've got some work to be done. Great utility work in that round, as we talked about, but the one thing you always have to fear with M80 is their gunplay. And yeah, obviously there's been some strategic issues with M80 and their various iterations. We're only one match in, so it's obviously way too early to start saying anything particularly profound or anything, I guess, stalwart or etc. about a team. They can easily win the first game or the second game and then go out without a single win for the remainder of the stage. But M80 look improved, I would argue. You know, it seems in general that the team is working well together. And the one big point that I just want to highlight is that all too often, the weak link on M80 for so long was cameraman. And he has shown up. He had some struggles early on through the first couple rounds. He has turned it around. He's been playing high-value utility operators, and he's getting kills to boot. If cameraman's having a good day, M80 is likely having a good day. And right now, they're in the lead.
Often thought of as a traditional kind of hard support IGL cameraman. He doesn't need to be killing, I don't think, for M80 to be succeeding, but it certainly doesn't hurt, and he has absolutely had a hell of a game to start off stage 2 of the NAL. But it is, you know, it's a promising result against a strong opponent. The game's not over yet. They still have to attack twice more on Clubhouse, or they'll be forced into overtime at the very best situation. But I like it so far. I mean, this is a heavy roam strategy from Cloud9 Beast Coast again. M80, when they last came up against a strategy like this, they lost a couple of opening picks. Hyper and Spoit went down. Now they've got the demo. Now they've got a little bit more utility. Now they're going a little bit slower on this roam clear. That could mean that instead of a man disadvantage, they could end out these first 2 minutes with a bit of a lead. If they can find some picks, they'll be really in a good spot. But although the intel's here, the demo's tracking's there, the pings are there, so far there's no pick.
There goes Spirits. Down to Spoid, who's already found the first opening, and Citizen will hunt on that main floor. Gunner also dying. C9BC really struggling. We're at the halfway point of the round. We have flown through it. And now an awful lot lies on the shoulders of this C9BC roster. You've got that boss G in hand of Gavin, who's lurking his way through garage. But this is a downstairs defense. If he's not able to get through blue fast enough, Diffuser and Hot and Cold will have their work cut out for them. Things get a little bit easier as Diffuser pushes up towards blue window, gets a pick, and it looks like the goal now for C9BC will be to nestle inside of the site. They just reinforced oil pit door and at the bottom of main stairs, so they're going to try to buy time and ride out the remainder of this round.
Love that play from Diffuser. 3v4 is much easier to hold than 3v5. He knew that he had to do something to try to equalize that man count. Hot and Cold was doing the exact same thing on main stairs, but as soon as one of the two players got a pick, they both fall off to sight, and they now decide to play just around their utility. They're going to have Banshees, they're going to have Goyo canisters, they're going to have castle barricades, maybe some Gumon. The util here, and they're going to keep this kitchen hatch closed too. Lots of X-Kyro, so it's just a time waste. But man, oh man, this is not going to be an easy push again, despite the man advantage.
Cameraman looking to open that up. There goes some Candelas. 2 remain in pocket for Kino. Immediately a run over towards Dirt Tunnel. There go the Candelas. Gavin with 1 pick onto Citizen. Now it's Kino dead as well. It's a 2v2, but time is almost up. 2 seconds left. Spoit walking in, slowed by the Banshee. He has no choice but to start the defuse, and he gets killed in the process. It looked like M80 were about to put a bow on it, but that 1 pick on blue stairs, and then the destruction of the X-Kairos, coupled with the time-wasting gadgetry, somehow, against all odds, it's C9 BC to win the round and stay in this matchup. It would have been match point if M80 had prevailed. Instead, we're looking at a likely very long game.
That is textbook how to play when you lose the opening couple of picks on a Church and Arsenal Rome game. That was starting off so poorly. I even said it, you know, they've got the Deimos, they've got great pings. It looks like M80 could end these first 2 minutes with a man advantage rather than a man disadvantage. And they did just that. The Rome clear was fantastic. But then what happened? Well, you still have 1 roamer. It was the Vigil top floor, but then the 2 site players push up simultaneously to work in a pick. That not only equalizes the man count a little bit, makes it a 3v4, but wastes even more time. And then after that, they play their site. It goes fantastically for them. Loved that from Cloud9 Beast Coast. It is that type of quick thinking in a sticky situation that is why they became major champions.
They call the timeout and they look much more poised, even though they had a disastrous start to the round. And, well, I mean, you've still got a tall task ahead of you. M80 have had your number through the second half. I don't know, is Spoit meditating? I'm not really sure what is going on there. But either way, I mean, it looks like M80 have locked in for this second half, and they had the wind at their backs. That's why you take the timeout, right? Is to hope the wind stops blowing in their direction. And I mean, countless times against BDS in Manchester, C9 BC looked like they were all but done for. And yet, they kept coming back. That's what honestly separates the good from the great, is your ability to battle back even when the odds are fully stacked against you. Yeah. And well, here we are.
Honestly, obviously, this is not as high stakes as, say, a major grand final or some of the big international games that M80 have played in the past. But it is a trend that when Cloud9 Beast Coast get into a sticky situation, as they did many times during the playoffs of the Manchester Major, they step up and perform. And M80, honestly, for years, when the pressure gets high, they've folded. Often we've seen this team underperform in high-stress situations. This is not going to be the same high stress that they may have faced at the 6th Invitational, nor at the many majors they've attended. But this is still a tough game. It's a rematch of the NAL Stage 1 Finals. You are up against a very good team in Cloud9 Beast Coast. Now is when we find out, will M80 shake as they have a few times in the past, or will they step up and be able to hold the nerves down attacking on Clubhouse?
I'm assuming that's a rhetorical question because I can't. Assuming you don't want me to answer that one, right?
No, I need an answer now.
I'm sorry, I can't give you one.
Okay. Maybe
call back in 2 business days. Parker is busy.
Use this Google thing of yours. You might be able to find one.
I've never heard of Google. What is it?
So we're going to Gym Bedroom for round number 11, and this is one of those bomb sites that, again, we've seen M80 do a great job of just finding picks by circulating the bomb site. The pushes have always come out so strongly by having a lot of angles into the site, and it looks like they're going to do the same thing here. They're starting with the cache extension. They want to be able to get spirits out of cache. They want to be able to take diffuser outside of construction. And once they have this map control, then they focus on Logi, then they focus on the master windows, and with them already very quickly getting CC control, they can work on that now.
First Flores to be brought as well on this matchup, and M80 getting 2 very quick picks. I don't know what Diffuser and Spirits were thinking. Probably not that they would lose their engagements, but this is familiar territory for C9BC. They've been here before. They have both succeeded and failed. So there's no real history that we can go off of. By the way, I asked Jeeves and he said Google was another search engine. So there you go. I have gotten the answers for us both. Look at us go.
The thing about the NAL broadcast they don't tell you, it's informative. Nobody brings that up.
That's correct. The information you get, it'll go through your mind just like the bullet from Gavin went through Hyper's mind. So information passed along, this time in the form of violence. It's a beautiful thing, isn't it? Back to the bomb site they will go, and if you recall, the same situation that they were in before was at a, what? Downstairs? Appears that the stream is frozen. I don't know.
Yes. I am got a frozen feed at the moment. Oh, we're back.
Hey, we're back. I was going to say, this was exactly what happened on that downstairs bomb site. They were down in a 5v3. There was that pick on blue stairs. They recentered around the actual site, bunkered down, and they won the round. Now, the difference is that this bedroom, bathroom, or this bedroom and weight room bomb site upstairs is not exactly the same site, because once you start to lose control of the peripheral areas, it's almost impossible to defend it. The same cannot be said for the basement bomb site. It's usually much friendlier to defenders.
Hot and cold down below, trying to play with the pre-play C4. Watch out for that one. It could have a massive impact if he times it right and gets a pick as they try to jump in. It might even be here on the gym window.
Oh my, Gunner caught with his pants down. That's an easy pick for Kino, who can now go for the vault in. Hot and cold. Just inching up closer to the site. Both players looking in the same direction. Gavin managed to pick off Spoit and get away. Diffuser in the hands of Kino. One successfully vault in from Jim. Hot and Cold cannot rebuff him. Worried about the doorway. Hot will have to go for the other retake, but a good hold by Cameraman outside. Can he get there in time? Gavin unable to stop it. Cameraman a team kill, and immediately Gavin will hop on. He'll have plenty of time. There's no way Cameraman can get there. And Beast Coast steal the round. Excuse me. How does that happen?
Maybe the most underrated player on all of Cloud9 Beast Coast, Gaveni, proving why he is so talented on this team. A ridiculous clutch. He almost threw it away. He had the ability to deny the plant, but he guessed incorrectly where it was happening. He looked to the left. The plant was going on to his right. A team kill bails him out of the 1v2 situation, and then he comes up big to just step on the diffuser. Doesn't need to get any flashy kills. Doesn't need to find any massive frags, but it's a massive throw from M80 to take what should have been a surefire round. 2v1 with the fuse kit already on the floor, and then you team kill, and then you just run away outside the building and aren't able to get back in time. If M80 lose this game, that is the round that's going to haunt them tonight.
You could see from the expressions on their faces how much the spirits had been broken of M80. That seemed like a sure bet. And if you look at the numbers at the top of your screen, C9BC has the lead, and yet there are 2 rounds that M80 must have thought they had in the bag, and yet were not successful in actually securing that basement attack and then that last attack we saw upstairs. This does not bode well for them whatsoever. This team has to keep its head in the game. You cannot tilt. You cannot rage. There is still 1 more round for you to go, and if you prevail, you go to overtime, you secure yourself at least 1 point. Yeah, it's not exactly the situation you want, but you have to salvage this situation as best as you can. M80 will start by attacking the CCTV wall, and it appears that they have been able to open it up with that exothermic charge, blowing the wall wide open.
Back to business as usual. You've got to mentally reset after a round like that. This is a do or die round for M80. They get the wall open very early. They don't want to have the same thing happen as last time where they couldn't get that wall no matter what they did. This time, there's not as many problems. There is still Kaid tricking going on here, and that looked pretty good to me. Does it get the can opener? Sounds like it did not. Sounds like they were able to open it in time. So no successful Kaid trick this time on the garage. That, of course, opens a great angle that looks in towards the rafters window into the bomb site, although it is currently castle barricaded off. This is still doable for M80. Obviously, last round didn't go the way they wanted to. They'll open that barricade now, but they're in a really good position with everything that they want open. The next step in this execute is going to be taking Raptors control. Kino's got 2 firebolts in his pocket. That's what they've got to utilize to try to get Spirits out of this position.
And there he goes. So, I mean, gunplay can also do the job.
Sure.
Citizen holding over towards blue, waiting for somebody to maybe rotate from lounge side or over towards garage. Gunner decides to swing the breach and gets picked off by Spoit. He'll also grab hot and cold. A terrible spot for these C9 BC players to be in. Just like that, there's a minute to go, and it's up to Diffuser and Gavin to save this round.
That was a bold swing.
I would use not smart.
Sure. Many
You'd like
words to say the same thing.
It's like when something silly happens and you go, oh, that's interesting. Just like this round. Gavin with 2 almost gets more than 3, but it's M80 to snap their fingers and send us to overtime. Me, oh my. Definitely not the result they wanted, but you got to take what you can get. And in this case, M80 desperate to grab these points. And more importantly, get a huge victory over the defending major champions.
And I will say, if you're Beast Coast Cloud9, you're not feeling great after that round. You know, you would have liked to end it out 7-5. But you're not feeling too sad. Somebody who may be feeling a little concerned after watching that round was Jinxie. Because Spoit hit a disgusting 3K there against the swinging players. He is clearly up to the top of his form now, top fragging his team, tied with Citizen 11 and 8. The warm-up that he is getting here for tonight's 1v1 has been massive for him throughout this game. And I'd be shaking a little bit if I was the king of TikTok himself.
Of course, what happens in the NAL is irrelevant to a bragging rights matchup on another content creator's stream. Of course, that's how most people go about looking at it, Jesse. So,
yeah, but most people don't give you the hard-hitting analysis that I do, Parker. Now, do they?
That's true. So, I mean, hey, at the end of the day, the real winner here is not Spoit. It might not even be M80. It might not even be Jinxie. It's us, the viewers. We are the real winners today.
Absolutely. And we are back on Gym Bedroom. We are back going for a CCTV cache extension that is trying to get cleared. And we got Finka on the board from Diffuser. I don't think this is going to be a site rush, just based on positioning. We have basically every person on the other side of the map for the bomb site. So sometimes you see a Finka, you think that. But Finka still could be extremely useful when you're going for these clears, when you're going for the execute. Top floor of Clubhouse has a lot of kind of boxy rooms that you know, okay, we're pushing this in 3, 2, 1, you hit that execute. That's something that Finka can really help out with. And of course, Gavin on the Ying as well. I expect we're going to see some of these Candelas being utilized to try to clear out these players in the cache extension. Citizens here in cache right now. Hyper's just inside of construction. We've got a lot of utility in the pockets of Cloud9 Beast Coast, and I imagine at least some of it is going to be utilized here to clear out these extended players.
It's going to be quite the fight with cameraman now on red stairs. And oh, he gets swung on and yet wins the battle against Diffuser. He does not expect Gunner as a follow-up. Gunner needs to be wary of what might be behind him. Meanwhile, Hyper picking off hot and cold. Citizen upstairs, prepared and waiting for Gunner again. What is going on? C9 BC are struggling with information. This was one thing that we praised about them. In the first half, they seem to be so poised. They seem to get information. But this time around, there's just some shakiness. Gavin eliminating Citizen. You also saw a run out. Now that's Hyper picked off by Spirits. Gavin with 13 kills. Spirits with 5. Quite a difference between the two. Still 2 Candelas in pocket for the Ying and 1 EMP as well. That'll be really helpful for taking out and disabling both the Fenrir and Mute gadgets. And 1 minute to go means both of these teams will wait an agonizingly long period of time before they come to blows.
One thing I'll say about this execute is we might have a lot of seeing problems because we've got both a Ying and a Fenrir up inside the bomb site that are going to be duking it out here in the 2v2. This feels like it's anybody's round. Obviously, Cloud9 Beast Coast having all this time to position how they want to drone out players, that is an advantage, but inherently, 2 strong defenders with full HP is going to feel very good for M80. And as these last 2 Candelas come out, it's going to be, of course, on Cloud9 Beast Coast to make something happen for the push.
Diffuser just looks the wrong way, not expecting one player to still be inside of logistics. That's Kino in that position. Now it's up to Spirits. He'll have to shrug this one off and soldier onwards. He doesn't have the diffuser. It's him in a 1v2, trying to draw out these players, but M80 not giving him anything at all. Good patience until Cameraman tries to ascend the top stairs and finds him in the process. M80 moved back onto match point.
One of the hard things about that bomb site, Jim Bedroom, is often as an attacking team, you just have to execute twice. You execute once to clear out the cache extension, then you've got to execute a second time to clear out Jim and Bedroom, the actual bomb site. And it felt like Beast Coast couldn't do it either times. They failed on their first. Execute. They did trade out nicely, and I think that that third pick halfway through the round that they were able to pick up, bringing us from a 2v4 eventually to a 2v3, and then the next one after this to bring us to a 2v2 was promising that they could then go in for an execute. But ultimately, the positioning was better from M80 inside the site. Shooting those drones was massive because it meant that the intel wasn't there. You noticed that when Diffuser vaulted in the window and didn't know where to look. And M80 ended up coming up on top. So they'll have the lead heading into this next round of overtime. You expect the defense to generally do kind of well in OT because pressure's the highest, it's sometimes easier to defend, and also every bomb site unlocks for the first 2 rounds of overtime, so they're a bit of advantage going towards the defense. But it is Cloud9 Beast Coast on the back foot, needing to win back-to-back rounds if they don't want to lose their first game of the stage again.
Didn't go to overtime, but the first map was a nail-biter between Wildcard and Sonics. Now, I've already spoiled the result earlier on in the casting, and I know that some people take umbrage with that. I gotta say, this is a live product. I'm gonna talk about the matches that we're watching. I'm sorry if you're rewatching it, but it's not how it really works. That said, both of these clubhouse matches have gone down to the wire. One went down to the wire in regulation, the other now almost doing so in OT, but still quite the long drawn out affair for these teams. And honestly, good signs from both, but if I had to give a nod in any direction, M80 is the team that should have already put this matchup away, but a series of misplays, blunders, and excellent capitalization from C9 BC is why we are where we are at this particular moment. Now, Cloud9 Beast Coast on defense. Can they win one more round to send us to the final 15th? Where's your money if you had to say yes? I'm going to say yes. What would you say?
I'm going to say no.
Okay.
As a contrarian.
Of course.
Honestly, I do like the round so far from M80. They're droning the top floor. This is a very roam-heavy setup. They've got the Dokkaebi as well. One more logic bomb. If they can convert that logic bomb into a kill, maybe on Gavin, maybe on Spirits, they've put themselves into a really strong position. The site utility isn't the strongest right now. There's no Goyo, there's no smoke. And with these drones coming out and finding them the intel, a man advantage could be all they need to execute with a win.
Gavin has favored the spot over by the strip club. As Vigil, he can fly under the radar, can evade the logic bombs that have now both been used by Citizen Dokkaebi. Gavin holding this position. He had a good idea of somebody being over by the window, but it's Kino who's got him stuck in place. And there goes a Candela. He spotted for a second. Kino just not able to do enough damage, but plenty of bullets to open up that wall. Spoid also looking in Gavin's direction, but this isn't necessarily the best use of time, is it? 2 players from M80 trying to find a single player from C9 BC. At least you picked off Gunner, so that's good for M80's execute, but there's 4 more to be found, and Gavin will still be watched in their direction. It does set up a showdown for the final 3 players of C9 BC on site, one of them being Hot and Cold, who's just removed Hyper. Gavin finally picked off by Citizen, who gets the job done on his own, and now the cavalry from M80 will arrive down the main stairs. Final 30 seconds of this execute for M80.
Shaking in their boots. This is going to be very, very tight on time, and they do a good job of stopping some of this soft breach, but even still, they're going to rely only on the Banshees to slow this execute as it comes on in, and the man count just is not there.
It's a desperate ego peek from Hot and Cold. Candelas will go. Kino will follow through the hatch. No targets in line of sight. Diffuser gone. It's Spirits to clutch out. Down goes Citizen to the Capkin trap. And suddenly Spirits could potentially retake from above. Cameraman will need to watch as the diffuser has now been successfully planted. And Spirits will go for the suicide drop. He survives, but is he living on borrowed time? trying to find out where these last two players from M80 are located to save his team's fortune in this matchup, but he can't get the job done. Kino with the final pick, and despite multiple attempts to end this one, M80 came up short. They needed overtime, and they get the job done.
I loved that plant spot in the final round. It's not able to be denied from the hatch, so even if he was fast enough, he wouldn't have had the angle to stop it. Puts himself in the 1v2 post plant. A great effort, but at the end of the day, it is M80, the better team, to switch history and change the result of the Stage 1 Grand Finals, saying that at least for right now, at the start of the stage, they are contending for the top spot inside of North America. There is plenty of more games to go. Of course, many more games to be played throughout Stage 2. And I will remind you, everybody, that Beast Coast started off quite weak in Stage 1. They still bounced back to win the whole thing. But ultimately, this was a really good showing from both teams, and M80 are our champions today.
Excited to hear what the analysts think of Hyper as an addition to this M80 team. There's a lot to talk about from this matchup. But first, a break. We'll be right back.
Two clubhouse games on the day. One of them goes all the way to 12 rounds, the other to 14, and we're still only halfway through the first play day of Stage 2. It's been a good one for fans of one particular map in Germany that we just keep playing over and over again, and this time M80 get the win in OT.
Yeah, I mean, for the most anticipated matchup of the day, I mean, I think that was best case scenario, went the full distance. Obviously, you know, could have went one more round closer, but M80 did close it out. I was wrong, so you were right. M80 was the better team here.
Thank you. Even though M80 did come away with that win, I really felt like the whole series looked like C9 BC's game to lose. I felt like the responses that they were doing, the gameplay from them was almost perfect. But their one fatal flaw was the fact that they were just over peaking every time that you thought C9 BC had the round. Somebody peaks somewhere else, somebody peaks another place. And obviously when you play against M80 and you give them those opening kills, they're not going to hesitate. They're not going to miss on them.
And that's the thing. Like, when it comes to this map, like, it just really comes down to basic fundamentals. You're not going to do something crazy to catch a team off guard. It really just does come down to small errors, such as over-peaking, just not sitting still, waiting for them to come into you or waiting for them to even come into your line of sight, to say the least. And yeah, it really just came down to small errors here from C9, whereas truthfully, I thought had they just played those positions a little differently, we would see C9 winning this.
Absolutely. There was many rounds where it looked like C9 BC had just the round in the bag, especially with their utility usage. I really loved the way that they were using the Bandit, the way that they were holding on that CC wall for dear life, but there were so many times where they successfully gained the position. They won the position battle, but time and time again, they just gave M80 the leg in, and I really want to commend Hyper specifically because there was a lot of rounds where it felt like everything for M80 just wasn't going to work. There was nothing going on. When they were getting their Thermites Bandit trick, and somehow every single time, Hyper, specifically as the hard breach, was able to get those opening kills to be able to allow the rest of the team to feel more comfortable, and just the rain of kills just rained down.
Yeah, so far for Hyper, at least coming back for the first time in a couple of months. Not a bad performance, 8-9 overall, put him on hard breach rolls at least to start things out on his first attack with M80, but it's not to say that he's going to stay there. There's plenty more. You guys called him the Swiss Army knife. There's a lot more bags, or like tricks in his bag he can still bring out.
For sure, and I'm glad we're also seeing Citizen, you know, be categorized here, because we didn't see a lot from him recently, because Spoit was usually taken
We didn't see his cam at all in that game, and I'm like, is Citizen actually here? But no, he was in the lobby.
Citizen was making some very strong plays throughout that, and especially on the mirror as well. Not a roaming op that you would typically see, and the fact that he was able to make that work in some of those situations was beautiful. But Citizen has always been a well-rounded player, and you said it with even Hyper being that Swiss Army knife. I think a lot of the players on that roster do fill into that role as well, as they can play anything at any given moment that allows that team to really open up their map pool and play side.
QR code on screen for individual match stats, by the way. If you're curious about anything that happened during this series, go ahead and scan with your phone and see if anything there interests you in some facet. C9 BC losing their first game of the stage. How concerned are we? It was an overtime game. Is that just as close as it was meant to be?
I genuinely think for this game specifically, both teams look extremely strong. I don't think one necessarily looked better than the other in terms of obviously one team winning it. I think they both are really strong. It's just Clubhouse really comes down to basic fundamentals.
Yeah, and it really came down to those attacks too. And when you're able to just steamroll on attacks on first picks, I think just M80 just really led it there, but I'm not too worried for C9 BC. Like I said, I really believe that that game was in the palm of their hands. And like Diffuser said in the interview, every one of those players could explode in a round and clutch. And that's what we saw so much of. If they're just able to limit back, just pull back the over peaking a little bit, which, hey, you're major winners. Of course you want to just limit test and go for these over peaks.
Yeah.
And some of the rounds, it worked. But unfortunately for them, it wasn't the majority of the rounds.
He went 13-10 in this game. He was 5-2 on entry, and we got him on the interview to talk about everything. It's the boy wonder himself, Spoit. Dude, congratulations on the dub. Walk me through what these past couple of weeks have been like with Hyper. How long have you had him? How's he integrating with the team? Talk to me about how that's going.
I mean, shit, Hyper, he's a... I mean, listen, he's a major champion, you know what I'm saying? Like, I expect good things from Paul. I love the guy. And so far, it's been amazing with him, yeah. Enjoying my time with him.
That's amazing. Spoit, before you guys played, I had a time to interview Kino, and he told me that the wake-up call loss against LG and the EWC quals just struck a little bit of fear in you guys, and it kind of woke you guys up to try a little harder and to put a little bit more effort in the split from EWC to now. Walk us through what a little bit more effort looks like on your guys' end.
I mean, we just kind of have to, you know, look over the system, make sure everyone is in the right position. I mean, we're trying Ben now, Citizen, on a different role as well. And also, you know, more vocal, you know, IGLing a bit, helping out the cameraman as well. So them two are bouncing off each other a bit better now, so I think that's helped a lot, yeah.
My question for you is if you just want to run me through kind of what the team's, you know, not chemistry was, but their mentality here is the round 11, where it was a huge misplay. Obviously, cameraman was outside on that round. They end up sneaking that defuse off because he had to do that rotate. What kind of happened in the comms there? And then at the end result of losing that round, was everyone calm-headed? Were you maybe someone that spoke up and said, listen, let's focus on this, getting this next round, let's push it to OT? Kind of just run me through what that looked like for you guys.
I mean, I've always said in scrims, like, guys, can we stop talking about the last round? Let's just focus on this round. And I think we adopted that mindset pretty well. You know, it's just about the details, you know, and, you know, not losing the mental necessarily inside the server. And, you know, stuff like that happens, you know, you just gotta live and learn with it. And, you know, not too many of those mistakes in a best of one, and we're good.
Yeah, for sure.
That ended up being the last round that you guys lost, though, which is great, because from there on, you forced overtime, won the only 2 rounds that were played in overtime, won the map. Congratulations. But talk to me just about Clubhouse in general. Is there anything in particular that was a big highlight moment for you that you're like, yes, what we're doing in scrims is 100% working? Just, you won the map, but talk to me about how, like, satisfied you are with that win.
I would say definitely the basement executes. I think they're pretty good. They're pretty solid. We have everyone in the positions. I mean, some flukes happen here and there, but overall, I'd say the basement were the strong point for us. Still gotta, you know, look over the mistakes we did. I remember one round where we didn't get the CC wall open, and I don't know how we won the round, but, you know, yeah.
I got a question for you. I've been saying this on the desk, obviously with Oregon being removed. Do you see Clubhouse kind of taking over now that spot of Oregon?
Good question. I mean, maybe it is like a very default map. Everyone plays the same way. Everyone has similar strats. So it's just nailing these, you know, peek of me, 3-2-1s, all of these, you know, default stuff basically. So yeah, I think it definitely can take over Oregon. But however, get rid of Cafe. Get that map out now.
You might be speaking a couple of people's language right now. Last question for you. I've seen you in particular have a super busy summer. It's been public all over stream. Yeah, I saw the U-Haul truck stream at one point. You're going crazy. Just tell me how prepared you feel for this stage, because obviously we don't know what your schedule is like. I'm just curious how, coming from the EWC qualifiers in stage 1, having the big off season, how good are you feeling right now?
I mean, I'm feeling great, you know. Of course, I'm, you know, a big content creator, so I'm working hard on that stuff. But, you know, you scrim 7 hours a day, and then you have streaming for like another 6 hours. So that's usually what the day looks like. You just gotta, you know, stay humble and, you know, just do your best in scrims. So that's how it is, yeah.
Typical gamer schedule stuff, dude. Again, congratulations on the dub. We will see you tomorrow. Have a good night, dude. That's it. That's that phenomenal dub.
They didn't even want to let him finish that little bit.
No, wait. Did they cut him off, or did he just not talk? I couldn't hear him at that point. He was?
Okay.
Oh, that sucks.
I'm
No
sure
big
I'll
deal.
talk about it on stream.
If he goes and
I'll say it
immediately starts
afterwards.
streaming after this.
Yeah, what's going on, guys? Imagine he's vlogging the whole match just inside the room. That'd actually be pretty cool. Yeah, that'd be pretty cool.
A style of content that's never been done before. Someone wants to groundbreak that and can do it not at the expense of their team and like actually performing well, do it, because that actually might get the views. We're already done with 2 games on the day. We got 2 more left to go. Hero, and these ones aren't necessarily the heavy hitting matchups that we have on the card, but they're just as intriguing nonetheless. Luminosity and Los is coming up as game number 3 right after the break. Don't go anywhere.